MovieWeb.com.
In 1956, Syracuse University's Jim Brown was perhaps the best running back college football had ever seen, but he was unable to become the first African American to win the Heisman Trophy. Some said if Brown couldn't do it, it might never happen. 1 year later, Ernie Davis took the field.
Mr. Brown, what's it like at Syracuse for men like us?
It's not that different than a lot of places.
Good morning, sir. Beautiful day, isn't it?
But Schwartzwalder, he's one of the best coaches in college ball.
What are you smiling at? Right about now, I bet you're wondering what happened to that nice gentleman that begged you to come here, huh?
How did Ernie's trips down south actually change his perspective of what was going on around him at that time?
Well, this is something he wasn't exposed to before, so it was definitely a bit of a culture shock. I'm sure he knew what was going on, but to be thrust into that environment, you know, basically as a kid, it definitely opened his eyes to an extent.
Now, having walked a little bit in his shoes, did you get a sense of what this guy was actually about and where his perspectives were coming from?
Yeah, and I like to think that Ernie led by example, you know, in his life, and he didn't necessarily have to preach it, but he definitely walked the walk, and that's one of the things that I learned that you know I think I'll take with me for the rest of my life, actually.
This is quite a ruckus.
Hey, Ernie, Roger Page, Channel 9. They're calling this game the North against the South. In light of what's going on in this country, do you feel added pressure to represent change?
We don't concern ourselves with politics. We're just here to play a great football game and take home a championship.
To be honest, Mr. Page, when I'm out on that field, I only think about winning the game. But that doesn't mean I don't know the color of my own skin.
Okay, now I want to know, you grew up a native of Houston, Texas, right? Did you have any firsthand experience with some of the racial tension going on there?
Absolutely. You know, not only did black people live in a different part of town, but you know, there was separate restrooms, separate drinking fountains, separate places to sit in restaurants and movie theaters, and segregation was really the rule. And it was really all over America, but more overt in the South, yeah, where I grew up. But that was the way things were. Today, I mean, the Express is a look back, you know, the way we were. And it speaks to how far we've come, but yet also how far we have left to go.
Now, I know you just shot just a little bit of it in Syracuse, but when you went there and people found out that you were shooting the Ernie Davis story, how did they react? Because I mean, just friends I have that live in Syracuse or from Syracuse, I can't wait to see this film, and they all know this story.
The last day of filming was in Syracuse, and I really wish it was the first day of filming, because I think the whole time there's many of the young actors, they weren't quite sure why the story was important and who cared about Ernie Davis, and they didn't quite really land on what that was about. The last day of shooting went to Syracuse, and all of a sudden people came out of the woodwork, including Ben Schwartzwalder, Dennis Quaid's character, his real wife, Reggie Schwartzwalder, who's still alive, and she met Rob Brown on the set. And all of a sudden, Omar Benson Miller and Rob Brown were saying to me, "Oh my God, now we get it. Now we understand." So I wish we'd done that first day, that day in Syracuse, the first day of shooting, but ultimately, at the end, they went, "Now we understand why the story is important."
How are your grades, Ernie? Ernie?
They're good, Pops. Thanks. I'm keeping them up. I like history, and I'm taking a business course.
That's good, because football is just a game. It's that degree that's going to count for something. Going to get you a good job.
Where you gonna get a good job at? A Negro with a diploma, AT&T, GM? It's football that's gonna take him someplace. Otherwise, you're gonna be working right here with us, cutting coal, and you know.
I want to apologize for him.
You ain't got to apologize for me,
Don't you start it tonight, Will.
Pops, guys!
Don't start it tonight.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Relax. You're both right. Now, my plan A is the Cleveland Browns. Now, if that doesn't work out, plan B is the New York Giants.
A lot of people that are familiar with Ernie Davis' story obviously didn't know his grandfather, and when I saw the film, when they have your death scene, people were weeping next to me, and I'm wondering, what do you account that sort of emotion from the audience too, since they didn't really even know this man?
Well, I think it's two things. I think it's the initial impact of the character, where you know that's the driving force of Ernie. But I also have to give credit where it's definitely due. I think it's Rob Brown's performance of keeping the grandfather alive in the emotionality of the audience. His reaction to the grandfather's death is just absolutely wonderful. And although my character is gone, you still feel that he's there, you know? And I remember mentioning that to Rob after I saw the movie the first time. I said, hey, thanks a lot for keeping me around in the film, you know? His reaction to it. So I think it's a combination of, you feel the love that these two people had for each other, you know? And Rob just does a great job of it. I mean, really, you know? It's probably more him than me.
Gloria and Sarah. Okay. I'm Jack Buckley, but you call me JB.
JB.
And this is my friend,
Ernie.
How do you do?
Very well.
So, what are you guys studying?
Well, a little bit of everything. Math, basic literature.
We're on the football team.
And that.
Oh. I don't really know too much about football.
Neither does he.
I want to know, don't you think that college football should have like a most valuable friend award to give out like at the end of the day there?
Only for the Express, because I would hope that I would win it. But I think, you know, I don't know, man, for any success story, behind any success story, it doesn't matter what field you're in, there's always the friends, the family, the mentors who combine to make this person the person who they are.
Well, who was Jack Buckley, though? I mean, we don't see where he went on to, and I couldn't find really too much about him on the internet.
That's because Jack Buckley is a composite that was primarily based on John Brown.
Oh.
John Brown, who was Ernie's best friend in real life, to the point where he named his son after Ernie Davis. His name is Ernie Davis Brown. I just met him for the first time after shooting, and he blessed the performance and the relationship. And John Brown was on that 1959 team and went on to play for the Cleveland Browns. He went on to play seasons and seasons in the NFL. So it's great to meet this man.
Get up! Get up! That was plumb awful. Now, last one runs a lap. Let's go! Get out the line! Rule lap. 5, 6. Yo, Benz, you move like a walrus. Come on, like a big old elephant walrus. Yeah, all right, you step, make your ancestors proud. Ease up, Davis. What are you smiling at? This fine institution has given you 3 hots and a cot. I do not intend to let them waste their money. Get them up, come on. Come on.
Right about now, I bet you wonder what happened to that nice gentleman that visited your house and begged you to come here, huh?
But what do you think Ben Schwartzwaller's contributions were to the civil rights movement?
Well, I don't think he made any contribution to the civil rights movement. Ben Schwartzwaller, who was Ernie Davis's coach, he was a man of his times. And if anything, I think Ben Schwartzwaller, my character, represents the status quo that existed in America back then in regards to the white views of segregation and racism. It's just because he didn't have the same experience of understanding the Black American experience.
Well, when you looked at his character for the first time, I mean, did you come at it from the mindset of a veteran or from the mindset of a coach?
Both. My greatest resource was Jim Brown. He was already a friend of mine. He told me a lot about Ben and about his relationship with Ben and Ben's relationship with Ernie and the times in which it was sad. So I was lucky to have that.
Now, how difficult was it to choreograph some of these moves from what you were seeing on these old film clips? Because I guess they showed you a lot of his old footage. How difficult was it to get on the field and actually reenact a lot of that stuff?
Not hard at all. Football's football. So once I showed up to camp, we had the same boards that any typical scout team would use in a high school practice. So that was nothing. The real work was basically Coach Alan Graff getting those plays and getting the proper alignments and things like that, because it is old footage and offense is pretty old. So I think that was the difficulty, and once he got that material, then it was all football from there.
Now, before I go, can I get real quick you to give me your best Heisman Trophy pose? With the.
Oh, you want like the Desmond Howard
Okay, well, just real quick, can I get your Heisman Trophy pose?
Indeed. We gotta. Hold on. There it is.
In a time of change,
This is not just a game. We're fighting something else out on that field right now.
one man had the courage
I can't even walk in the front door of a hotel. Now all those people who believe that's right are watching. But you know what? So are they.
to achieve the extraordinary.
Winning this one means nothing if you lose yourselves. Don't you let anyone steal history away from you.